This program is brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Mosaic, a daily news program from Link TV, presents a selection of news reports from independent and state-controlled broadcasters from throughout the Middle East.
نفى الجيش الإسرائيلي ما ذكرته وكالة الأنباء السورية.
The Syrian Arab news agency reported that Israeli planes have bombed targets inside of Syria. The Israeli army, however, has denied this report. An Israeli radio quoted a military spokesman without mentioning his name, saying that this did not happen at all. A Syrian military spokesman had announced that the Syrian air defense confronted the Israeli warplanes and forced them to leave Syria's airspace. He said that Syria maintains its right to respond to this act of aggression. According to the Syrian Arab news agency, the Israeli planes flew over the Mediterranean Sea before entering Syria's northeastern airspace. They were forced to drop their bombs and extra fuel tanks and failed to cause any casualties or damages.
مضيفا أن الطائرات الإسرائيلية ألقت بعض ذخائرها من دون أن تتمكن من إلحاق أي أضرار بشرية أو مادية. معنا حول هذا الموضوع من
Joining us from Damascus, the Syrian parliament member Dr. Mohammed Habash to talk about this event. Welcome to this news broadcast. Why did Israel deny this news report and what is your response?
كيف تردون على ذلك؟
بالطبع عندما تقرر سوريا بأنها تحتفظ بحقها في الرد.
Syria maintains the right to respond. In fact, its duty is to respond and it will never give up that right. The Israeli side is playing a cat and mouse game. They want their country to look like it was attacked if Syria were to defend its airspace and dignity as it had vowed to do so. They want to make it look as if Israel did not commit any of the provocations and that it is the victim. This is what the Israelis want to do, which explains why they deny flying their warplanes over tourist areas in Syria. They also want to send a message to the Israeli public that their government is still capable of committing acts of aggression as it has always done so.
دكتور حبش ما هي أساليب الرد
Dr. Habash, how will Syria respond, especially considering the Israeli-Syrian front has been calm for many long years? How can Syria respond? What do you mean when you say that Syria maintains the right to respond?
Syria does not have to announce its options in the media. Political leaders at the highest level are in charge of making such decisions. It's not the business of the media to speculate about the decisions that will be made by the Syrian leadership. Syria keeps all its options on the table, including the diplomatic, political, and military options. The Israeli provocations are aimed at igniting a war in the region, which explains why it has been amassing its troops along different areas of the borders. These acts of aggression send a clear message and the response must be firm.
دكتور حبش متى حصل هذا الاختراق؟
Dr. Habash, when did the Israeli planes violate Syria's airspace and why did you wait 1 or 2 hours before announcing the news?
وصدر الخبر منذ حوالي ساعة أو ساعتين.
في الواقع الطيران الإسرائيلي تصرف بطريقة جبانة جدا.
What the Israelis' planes did was a cowardly act. They flew over the sea during the night and entered tourist areas in Syria. The Israelis know that these are not areas of confrontations. People are spending the last weeks of their summer vacations in these calm tourist areas. The Israelis wanted to create panic in Syria. Syria has the right to respond at a time of its choosing. Israel will not be allowed to achieve its objective of spreading more fear amongst the tourists.
Dr. Habash, what is the nature of the area in Latakia that was violated by the Israeli plane? Was it an empty area or was it a residential area full of people?
At the current time, the Syrian coast is full of tourists who come to spend the last weeks of the summer here. However, the Israeli act of aggression was committed during the night. The planes dumped their bombs and extra fuel tanks without causing any damage. In fact, they did not even explode, which shows that the soldiers of war and aggression were in a state of panic. The message was very clear to all the Syrians.
After nearly 5 hours of deliberations, the Security Cabinet decided today not to expand military operations inside Gaza following the intensified wave of Qassam rocket fire emanating from the area. Prime Minister Ehud Olmert instructed the defense establishment to present him with operational proposals for combating the ongoing rocket fire. IDA's Dennis Zinn brings us the details.
The 5-hour-long Security Cabinet discussions today on the incessant Qassam attacks on the western Negev ended without any concrete result. No decision was taken to escalate the IDF operations in the Gaza Strip, nor was the use of other sanctions, such as the withholding of taxes and supply of electricity, debated. The ministers were briefed by senior defense officials, and Prime Minister Ehud Olmert ordered them to present him with yet another detailed plan to stop or at least substantially reduce the volume of rocket fire at Israel. Defense Minister Ehud Barak told the cabinet that small IDF operations deep in the Gaza Strip will continue as long as Israel does not have a reliable anti-missile apparatus to stop the attacks. He said that the defense establishment will speed up the reinforcement of all public buildings in the town of Sederot. Barak said his ministry is examining the legal ramifications of using sanctions against the civilian population in the Gaza Strip, now that the Hamas is in charge. Some ministers, including Eli Yishai of Shas and former GSS head Avi Dichter, said the only way to stop the Qassams is to embark on a large-scale military campaign. Foreign Minister Tzipi Livni said Israel must take every step to stop the attacks as soon as possible. Meanwhile, IDF forces today destroyed 4 Qassam launchers in the northern Gaza Strip. The operation was carried out by a unit of the Golani Brigade, backed by armor and aerial support. Dennis Zinn, ABA News.
Staying with that story, and at this hour, hundreds of Sderot residents are gathered outside the Prime Minister's office to protest the government's policy on the Palestinian-fired Qassams. The Sderot Parents Association today boycotted the city's educational system for the second day in a row. A convoy of buses filled with parents, children and municipal workers left the beleaguered city for Jerusalem this morning to take part in the protest. IBA's Eli Walgerlanter was in Sderot today, and he asked residents why they were demonstrating and whether they believed that it would make a difference.
Want to protest about the situation here in Sderot. I'm a social worker and working here at the welfare office. I'm working only for 3 weeks and I find the situation hard more than ever. We cannot take care of the people like they should, and unfortunately the government doesn't do enough for the people here.
Why do you think today's demonstration will make a difference then?
I'm not sure, but it's the least we can do. I'm not sure.
To protest the government's inability to act to protect the people of Sderot.
Why do you think it's going to help? You've done it before.
We have to do something. I don't know if it's going to help, but we have to do something.
I hope that the Prime Minister of our country will listen to us and will show just a little bit of sensitive to the civilians that suffer so much, about 7 years. And I want to wake him up and told him that we can't live like that anymore. Enough.
But people have been protesting and asking the government to help for 7 years. Nothing's happened. Why do you think this protest today will make a difference?
Because the situation is getting worse, and we have no security at the street. We can't do elementary activities that people should do in the day, because we just always look for the sky if rockets go on our head. We can't live anymore like this.
80% of the displaced Nahr al-Barid residents are living in a state of anxiety in the Badawi refugee camp. They have many questions about what has happened in their camp and what is awaiting them when they return.
The displaced residents of Nahr al-Barid have lived under hard and bitter conditions for the past 3 months. Now that the war is over, they hope that they can return to Nahr al-Barid and rebuild their homes.
We don't have a place to take a shower. It's very hot here. We are living a very bitter life.
We are happy that the war is over. God willing, Fatah al-Islam was wiped out in Nahr al-Barid and none of its fighters survived. That's what's important to us and not the destruction of our homes.
We want to return to Nahr al-Barid, and if that does not happen now, then preferably as soon as possible. We are willing to live in the suburb of Nahr al-Barid. We will not forfeit an inch of our camp.
But the government wants to rebuild it first. It wants to rebuild it even better than before.
We want to return now and watch it being rebuilt. We want to see the destruction. Let us return to Nahr al-Barid, and we will use its rocks as mattress and its dust as a blanket.
We hope that the army will allow us to return to Nahr al-Barid because we want to celebrate Ramadan and fast there. We don't want to spend the months of Ramadan here, and the food here doesn't taste the same. We plead to the Lebanese armies to take us back to Nahr al-Barid. I don't care whether or not they rebuild it. I will live near the rubble.
It's true that Nahr al-Barid displaced residents are worried about the past and the future, and are burdened by the hardship of returning and reconstruction. However, many have questions about the terrorist group Fatah al-Islam and how it managed to take control of their camp and turn a peaceful place into a battlefield.
We demand a comprehensive and impartial investigation into the incidents in Nahr al-Barid. We owe it to the Lebanese people who lost their children in the fight and the Palestinians whose homes were destroyed. We want to know who brought this gang here and who harbored its fighters, who gave them a safe haven here, and why did they come here?
Fatah al-Islam fighters were living among you. Why didn't you ask them?
Before Fatah al-Islam came to live here, they were living in the area of Jalul and the Bekaa. We are merely refugees on Lebanese soil, so we couldn't ask these questions. Who brought them to Nahr al-Barid and who funded their operations? Who brought them to Matan and Zahriya streets? Who brought them to Jalul? Who gave them money? And who gave them a political cover-up?
We hold all Arab leaders responsible for what has happened to us. They have capitalized on our plight as they saw fit, and they've been doing so since day one.
This is not humane. No human being accepts living this way. We have been victimized by those who conspired against us, including Fatah al-Islam and others. Why did they destroy the camp? Fatah al-Islam fighters are spread out in the entire country. Why did they have to bring them to Nahr al-Barid? Did I or other residents bring Fatah al-Islam here? I don't know anyone in Fatah al-Islam. I lived all my life in Nahr al-Barid and I had never heard of Abu Huraira, Absi or others. I have never seen or dealt with any one of them.
Conflict at Lebanon's Nahr al-Barid refugee camp may be over, but debate is now growing over who should control such camps. Lebanon is home to some 400,000 Palestinian refugees, and many say they'll resist any attempts by Lebanese authorities to disarm them. Shireen Tadros reports from the Ain al-Helwi camp in the south of the country.
These are the men who are keeping the peace in Lebanon's largest Palestinian refugee camp, and this is the man who controls them. Munir Makdah is head of the Fatah militia, the biggest and most influential armed group here. After the takeover of Nahr al-Barid, the Lebanese government said its aim was to regulate the arms inside Palestinian camps. Munir Makdah says first they have to resume dialogue and then they can talk about weapons.
In previous talks, a Palestinian security brigade was discussed with the Lebanese officials. They would control the camps and fall under the jurisdiction of the Lebanese authorities. This is an idea, but we must start talking again with the Lebanese.
Around 80,000 refugees live here in Ain al-Helwi. It's considered the most lawless camp on Lebanese soil and the one with the most arms. We went to see a senior commander of Usbat al-Ansar, an al-Qaeda-inspired militia. In a rare interview, he told me that he's joined forces with Munir Makdah, a shaky alliance as their ideologies differ, but both men agree that Palestinian control over security within the camps is the most important lesson of Nahr al-Barid.
If Nahr al-Barid reminded us of anything, it reminds us of the 1948 Exodus. And for that reason, the Lebanese government appears to be part of a conspiracy, which will lead to their total control of the camps, which will allow them to deal with the other issues related to the camps.
Under an agreement made in 1969, the Lebanese army cannot enter Palestinian camps. Lebanese law does not apply here.
This is the point at which Lebanese authority ends. And this is the point at which Palestinian authority begins. But after Nahr al-Barid, the big question is whether divisions like these will remain so clear.
And there is real fear amongst refugees that blurring these divisions will lead to violence. In 1982, Lebanese militiamen entered the camps of Sabra and Shatila, massacring hundreds of Palestinian civilians. Many here were too afraid to speak on camera. This man said he's worried the Lebanese army will take control. He doesn't trust them to protect his family. It's still not clear exactly how the government intends to deal with refugee camps, but what happened in Nahr al-Barid has shaken the Palestinian community and brought to the fore their tense relationship with the Lebanese authorities.
In Iraq, 8 armed factions announced the formation of what they called Al-Jihad wa Takfir Front. Al Jazeera obtained images of the factions' alleged representatives discussing the formation of the front, as well as their supposed signatures on the document that established it. The document stated that a resistance front is a legitimate demand and a necessary prerequisite for the next step that requires strategic plans to secure proper investment of efforts. The front includes the brigades of the 1920s revolution, Al-Rashidin Army, the Muslims Army, Al-Islamiyya Al-Mujahidiyya Lil-Iraq Movement, Jund Al-Rahman Wing, Al-Da'wa Wal-Ribat Wing, Al-Tamiqin Brigades, and Muhammad Al-Fatah Brigades. The front emphasized its rejection to the occupation and denied having affiliations with any side or party. The Iraqi police said that 14 people were killed and 9 others were injured when United States aircrafts bombed a number of homes in Al-Washasha neighborhood, one of Al-Mahdi militia's strongholds in West Baghdad. The police said that the early morning bombing destroyed 5 homes. Al Jazeera attempted to contact the United States Army to comment on this attack, but the Army said that it will be issuing a statement that includes the incident's details. The Muslims Scholar Association in Iraq said that the United States forces killed 6 citizens in the district of Tamiriya, north of Baghdad. The association also said that the forces raided a citizen's home, slaughtered him, and desecrated his body. They also killed 5 others in the Shabab village in the same province and desecrated their bodies. Meanwhile, the Pentagon rejected the suggestion made by the United States Commission to disband the Iraqi police. A Pentagon spokesman said that disbanding the police is not necessary in spite of sectarian problems. He said that the solution is in the retraining of these forces. An independent commission headed by the retired General James Jones will officially release a report today that recommends disbanding and reorganizing the Iraqi police forces because of sectarian divisions and corruption. Joining us from Washington is our reporter Wajd Waqfi. Wajd, to what extent does the general's report accuse the Iraqi police of corruption and sectarian divisions? And how might it affect the forthcoming report by Petraeus and Crocker?
الحقيقة يعني عبد الصمد هو حتى الآن مما صدر وبعدما سمعنا بالأمس من ديفيد ووكر المراقب الأمريكي العام عن وجود انقسامات كبيرة.
Yes, Abdul Samad. After hearing yesterday's remarks by the U.S. Comptroller General David Walker concerning the intense divisions between the Independent Commission, the report of the U.S. generals in Iraq, and the Pentagon reports, it is not expected that Jones' report will have any effect on General Petraeus, especially because the Pentagon's judgment is based on the U.S. General and Ambassador Croker rather than Jones's evaluation.
الذي يشارك فيه السفير كروكر أيضا مما يشير إلى أن تقييم الجنرالات الأمريكيين قد يكون إيجابيا نوعا ما مقارنة بتقييمات اللجان المستقلة مثل لجنة.
This suggests that the U.S. general evaluation might be positive in comparison with those by independent commissions like the Government Watch and Jones's report, which were extremely grim and focused on the Iraqi National Police Force, which includes 25,000 members. The report said that the corruption and sectarian division is malignant and widespread among the members of these forces to such an extent that it makes the reform of the Iraqi police impossible, and that the police should be totally disbanded and a new police force should be established. This force should include fewer people who are more experienced and completely removed from sectarian divisions. We heard a similar opinion yesterday in the report of the U.S. Comptroller General, who talked about the same issues, including the persistence of sectarian violence that stems from the police forces who are not independent from some of the Iraqi militias.
سمعناه بالأمس في تقرير المراقب الأمريكي العام الذي أيضا تحدث عن نفس الموضوع وتحدث عن استمرار العنف الطائفي بسبب عدم استقلالية قوات الأمن العراقية وولائها لبعض الميليشيات المسلحة في العراق.
Thank you, Wajd Waqfi from Washington.
أعلنت قوات الاحتلال في أفغانستان مقتل جنديين بعد تعرض
The occupation forces in Afghanistan announced that 2 soldiers were killed after their convoy came under attack south of the Afghan capital, Kabul. A statement issued by NATO said that the attack led to the death of a 3rd soldier and an Afghan translator without providing any details about their nationalities. For their part, the U.S. occupation forces said that they killed 20 members of the Taliban during clashes in Kandahar, south of the country. Confrontations are ongoing between the Afghan government backed by foreign forces and Taliban fighters. The Taliban is trying to transfer its battles from the south to the northeastern regions of the country.
في الوقت الذي لم تهدأ فيه الجبهة الجنوبية الساخنة بين القوات الأفغانية.
At a time when there is no calm in the heated southern front between Afghan forces backed by foreign troops and Taliban fighters, the latter were able to open a new front in the so-called open and comprehensive battle against the government and foreign forces. Here in the village of Tagaba in the Kapisa province in northeastern Afghanistan, Taliban fighters are active and have vowed to confront anyone who cooperates with the government. They talk about clashing with American forces in their military operations, forcing them to retreat.
للقوات الأمريكية تصدوا لها وأجبروها بالفرار.
When the American forces carried out a wide-scale attack on this area, our members confronted this attack. None of our members were hurt. In retaliation, we killed 27 members of the Afghan army, destroyed 7 American tanks, and killed 5 American soldiers.
هذه المنطقة الجبلية الوعرة التي يتحصن.
This rocky mountainous area, where armed Taliban fighters are fortified, witnessed the largest joint Afghan-U.S. military operation against what is described as the Taliban's growing momentum and its threats to the government. However, this resident's side of the story differed from the government and the American narration.
This region does not have any armed fighters. I'm puzzled about why the planes are conducting random bombings which have killed unarmed civilians. One member of my family was killed as he was tending his sheep. We ask the government to improve our living conditions rather than these continued strikes.
This region is suffering a lot and feels that its political and social role is being marginalized. It has not benefited from economic development, and residents' living standards have not improved, even though 6 years have passed since international pledges of aid were made. This rocky and mountainous area has prevented the government from reaching the village. The least we can say about it is that it lacks the most basic humanitarian services. The residents of the area are appealing to the government and relief agencies to act fast before a catastrophe happens. From the Hassanabad village, Mahmoud Wasik, Al-Alam, Kapisa.
The Consultative Council on Human Rights, in charge of monitoring national elections, has formed an international delegation of 50 observers and a local committee representing the various fabrics of Moroccan society to monitor the upcoming legislative elections in the country. The international delegation will monitor the election process in 12 districts throughout the kingdom. Our correspondent Mohammed Saeed attended yesterday's press conference at the Ministry of Interior and compiled the following report.
The first group of international observers arrived yesterday in Morocco to oversee the upcoming legislative elections. More than 50 observers, including Bolivia's former president, José Fernando Ramirez, and the head of the Arab Thought Forum, Abdelrahman Abu Arafa, are expected to monitor the upcoming parliamentary elections in Morocco. The Consultative Council on Human Rights delegated authority to the National Democratic Institute to oversee the voting process.
The international observers will break up into 25 groups, and each group will go to a different area a day or two before the elections start. They will meet with another group at the local level in order to get familiar with the process. On election day, they will go to the voting centers and monitor the process and watch the vote count.
The Consultative Council on Human Rights, which is in charge of overseeing the elections, has delegated authority to the Moroccan and international observers. The observers will monitor the voting process in 12 districts throughout Morocco. Meanwhile, the Moroccan Consultative Council will provide overall support in the entire kingdom.
We're working in consultation with all government institutions, including the Ministry of Interior and Justice. We're also working in conjunction with the National Democratic Institute, which is in charge of overseeing the work of the international delegation.
The Consultative Council stressed the importance of respecting international election laws and those laws specific to hosting countries. The National Democratic Institute will be in charge of the logistics and organization of the event. Meanwhile, the international delegation met with Moroccan partisans and academics and attended an introductory session on the political and legal system in Morocco.
Hi, I'm Jim Zogby, host of Viewpoint. I've spent more than 3 decades discussing issues that affect Arabs and Arab Americans. Despite some recent positive changes in America's perception of Arab countries, most Americans still do not understand the Arab experience. Now, with our troops in their 5th year in Iraq, the need for that understanding is more urgent than ever. When you support programs like Viewpoint and Mosaic, you're bringing us closer to this much-needed understanding. Because of places like Link TV, these programs can air free and uncensored. But your support is critical to keep these programs on the air. Link TV is viewer-supported. That means that shows like Viewpoint can only remain on the air with your help. Please call the number on your screen and help us broaden global understanding and continue presenting free, uncensored quality program. Call the number on your screen or log on to linktv.org and make a generous donation today. Thanks for watching and supporting Viewpoint and Mosaic.
Mosaic needs your support. Help us reach our goal to raise $200,000 by the end of the year to keep Mosaic on the air. Pledge your gift today at 1-866-485-8848 or linktv.org. Get more news about the Middle East online at linktv.org/mosaic. The Mosaic webpage offers a complete archive of Mosaic programs, program transcripts, the Mosaic video podcast, and the Mosaic Intelligence Report, a weekly analysis of the hottest stories from the Middle East. The views expressed on Mosaic are those of the participating broadcasters, not Link TV or its sponsors. The production of Mosaic is made possible with the support of viewers like you. Thank you. This program was brought to you by Link TV for educational and non-commercial use only. Link TV is the only U.S. television network devoted to global and national news, with uncompromising documentaries and diverse cultural programs which connect you to the world.